Hello, Guardians. Today is June the 9th, 2023. My name's Danfinity, and welcome to Destiny Digest. This week was a little light on the news, but we do have a really fun interview with RoboticAdi coming around the pike. A couple things that I want to note before we get into the rest of the show. First of all, thanks everybody who checked out my YouTube video that went through the process of my workflow for how I edit. If you're somebody who likes to see the process of how the sausage is made, or if you're a creator looking for some tips, that video is up on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Danfinity, where the eyes are else. This week also marks a change for a couple of things with Destiny Digest. I'm incredibly lucky to be able to do what I do. I work a part-time job to keep the engine running. I stream about 20 hours a week, and I'm also able to make this show that goes out to over 1,000 subscribers week after week. That said, I'm also always trying to add value to my subscriptions, to the folks who support me monetarily, to ensure that I'm able to continue to do this. Something that I'm going to start doing with this episode is uploading the raw and uncut interview with RoboticAdi to my YouTube channel in an unlisted video. That link will be available to everybody who subscribes to either my Discord, my Twitch, or to the Coffee. That doesn't mean I'm going to skimp on anything here in the episode. If anything, you're going to get a tighter experience from our conversation. If you're interested in a more ambling conversational experience, consider subscribing. Or if you're already a subscriber, make sure that you're in the Discord, discord.gg/Danfinity, and we'll get those roles taken care for you. Something else to add before we get into the news. RoboticAdi's camera had some weird latency issues, so you're going to see that reflected in the video for this episode. It was something that we couldn't fix in pre-recording, so we just flew with it. Sometimes you'll see that it catches up, sometimes you'll see that it lags if you're watching on YouTube, but, you know, the show must go on. And with that, we'll get into the news. This week saw the inaugural TWID, they're rebranding this week at Bungie to the This Week in Destiny, since Bungie is now a 2-game studio. It doesn't have quite the same zest to it, but I'm sure we'll get used to it. In the Twab, we got news all about next week. GM Nightfalls will be returning with the Lightblade kicking off the whole occasion. The Adept Grenade Launcher Wendigo will be the prize, followed by the Loaded Question and the Braytech Osprey in the following weeks. The Conqueror node for gilding the title becomes available on July the 4th. In the Crucible, Supremacy finds its way into the Relentless Rotator alongside Rift, Control, and Clash. We will also see update 7.1.0.2, which brings fixes to the double red border weapons that Hawthorne has been giving out as part of the O Deep Sight Mine quest each week. That will now be reduced down to 1 red border. Why they couldn't keep that 2 as part of a rule of fun, I don't know, but so it goes. Vesper of Radius and Kepri's Horn will both be re-enabled starting on Tuesday. And Titan Grenades won't be able to be chucked through barricades as well after Tuesday. So the Crucible might be safe. Maybe next Iron Banner you'll be able to get that emblem without too much heartache. Aside from a lot of server issues and disconnects over the past week, that was pretty much the news. So now we'll move on to an interview with RoboticAdi. RoboticAdi,
Oh god.
welcome to Destiny Digest.
He does this all the time, don't worry about that. Sweating, nervous already. Oh.
Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being a guest. Why don't you tell the fine folks at home where they can find you on the internet, just in case they don't make it to the end of the episode?
Just in case. All right. Okay.
Just in case.
Just in case. Okay. Well, You can find me on basically all socials under RoboticAdi because I'm one of
Mm-hmm.
those lucky ones. So Twitch, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, like all of them. I was very lucky to get RoboticAdi. I mean, most people call me Addy anyway. It's
Yeah.
There's been a couple that have called me Caddy, which is
I
strange.
think I did that when we first
Once, yes, you
I
did.
think I did. I think I did, and I was swiftly reminded
Yeah, it's
that
Addy.
Addie is a name.
Yes.
Oh
So
man.
yeah, no, that was mostly called Addy. All over Twitch 5 years and etc etc etc. So
Mm-hmm.
that's obviously how we know each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
We know each other from like we both do PvE helps in
Mhm.
the Destiny directory on Twitch.
Mhm.
Maybe not for long. We'll see. But the but that's kind of how we kind of came into each other's orbit. Are you still
Mhm.
finding yourself doing helps the same? Well, probably not the same way that you were back in those days, but are you still finding
Mm,
yourself doing helps within your community? Are you still
yes.
enjoying PvE activities in your
Yes. Yeah. I mean, mostly. Yeah. I mean, recently one of the best, the funnest streams that I've done recently was just 4 hours of Kali farm. It was
Mm-hmm.
just hilarious. There was constant laughing and everything, just because we're having because it was fun to be able to like melt this boss, see how many red borders you can get like throughout the entire team and stuff like that. So yeah, I still do. I don't. Maybe I don't do them as frequently as I used to. Because
Mm-hmm.
it used to be every day that
Yeah.
I would be doing PVE helps. But I mean, I think you know yourself, if you do PVE helps every day, you just end up feeling like you're being, I mean, you're volunteering for it, but you also sometimes
Yeah.
start to feel like you're just being used, and you know, and that kind of, I took a step away from it a wee bit just to kind of bring a bit of balance back into my content.
Mm-hmm.
I still enjoy doing the helps, but I also like to do things like for myself because like there would be many a time where I do helps all season, and then like the last week of the season, I'm panicking trying to finish everything that I want to
Yeah.
finish because mostly, obviously now, my family life has changed since I started.
That was something that I've had to learn, and
Hmm.
I think that I've only started taking to heart within the last year.
Hmm.
Was um not every stream needs to be a help stream.
Yep.
And the folks who are there for you are going to show up regardless of if
Yes.
you're there to help
Hmm.
or not.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so that's what I've been paying attention to. Sunday is still my big day for
Yeah.
streaming. Like that's my
Yeah.
8-hour day. I help a little bit on Thursday.
Hmm.
But I try to like I've been trying to do more things for myself as well, like trying to diversify with like Diablo this week. I did a split shift on Tuesday, right? Yeah. You're on the Diablo train as well?
Oh, for sure. For sure. Oh, we'll talk about Diablo in a minute. Don't,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
we
yeah.
will.
Yeah. So how are you feeling about Destiny 2 lately since Lightfall? And specifically with Season of the Deep since we're in the midst of it. How are you feeling?
Hmm. So I'm not gonna attempt to be like a negative Nancy, right? Okay,
Mhm.
because let's face it, we all love Destiny. We love the game. Otherwise, we
We're on
wouldn't
a
feel
podcast
so.
about it right now.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, right? So we don't obviously want to be overly negative about it. However, I personally was very let down with Lightfall as a whole.
Mm.
I felt like it was lacking a fair amount, especially. I mean, I know it's probably unfair to continue to compare expansions like the big yearly expansions. It's probably
Mhm.
unfair to continue to like um compare them to past releases because let's face it, for me, and I'm pretty sure for a fair amount of the community, Forsaken was the best DLC that they'd ever released.
Mm.
It was top notch. Um, it was devastating. Obviously, we lost, you know, Cade.
Mickey Mouse, yeah.
Yes, Mickey Mouse.
What?
Cade 6 is Mickey Mouse's Destiny. I won't be taking questions at this time.
Oh, I will be asking questions later. Thank you.
No. I get that. I get that. Mickey Mouse.
He-
Cade to Destiny is Mickey Mouse to Disney.
Yeah, you see
Yeah,
you see Cade, you're like, oh, Destiny.
Destiny.
Like,
yeah.
and like in the back of your mind somewhere is floating Nathan Fillion.
Yes.
And like
100%.
and so that kind of they killed Mickey Mouse during Forsaken.
Mhm.
And so we've kind of been in this era where it's been a little bit more grimdark. I would say that it's branched off in ways. Cade almost needed to go away in order for them to expand the roles of the rest of the cast.
There was definitely they had to kill someone off, and they had to kill. I would argue, did they really have to kill off the best liked character? But anyway, I feel like no, I honestly feel like since that happened, like things have been a little bit lost with like in regards to like the Vanguard storylines and stuff like that, and everything to do with the Destiny universe as a whole. The problem that I always have with Destiny is, and I've had this for years, and I'm sure I've actually said this to you once upon a time, is that I dislike non-linear storytelling because it can get just so frustrating. Like I get it, you've got this big story that you want to tell, right? And you tell that with every yearly DLC. It's further installments. That's cool. And then you've got these little stories in your seasons. You've got the 4 seasons. But I mean, for example, the last few seasons, I think the last 2 seasons of Witch Queen didn't even make any sense. Like we had Plunder. Plunder literally was just a let's be space pirates for a season. There was no rhyme or really reason to it, and I get it. The problem was that I'm pretty sure Plunder wasn't the last season of Witch Queen, was it?
No, that was Season of the Seraph. Was the last season of Witch Queen.
I feel like they should have been switched. Because obviously, you know, Osiris drank Nez Cafe. And then
yeah.
So like going into it, that would have, to me personally, that would have made more sense to go from that season into the DLC of Lightfall. I don't know, Lightfall itself, the story itself was disappointing to me. It felt a wee bit rushed and everything like that. However, Strand has been a spectacular addition to the game. I absolutely have a ball with Strand. Strand Hunter, not so much, and I'm a Hunter main.
Right.
I thoroughly, especially last season when all the Strand mods were out for the artifact, I had a ball of a time on Titan. Like Strand Titan was phenomenal fun.
Getting those blades on your hands and just going Wolverine, yeah,
exactly. Yeah, it was a constant uppies for me. Towards the end of the season, actually, I looked up some different Strand builds and stuff, and one of them was like a permanent uppies Strand Titan build, and it was phenomenal. And it's like uppies for everybody. You want uppies? You can have uppies. You know. But this season, I honestly think Ghosts of the Deep, I've nearly forgot the name of the dungeon. Probably one of the best dungeons they've released. I love that dungeon. I know that there is some discourse surrounding the traversal time. I don't find
also
that it is
boss health.
Also on boss health.
Conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. But I feel like the traversal time really isn't too bad. Especially like obviously like the first couple times you run it, you're gonna be slow because you're just trying to like learn it and stuff.
Yeah.
But like you can speed through it. I think maybe about 45 minutes is probably my quickest time, and that's actually all right. I mean, the fact is that you could probably do 2 different raids in the same kind of speed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We were just talking about that the other night. Like my fastest time is like, I want to say 55 minutes, 55 minutes and some change for Ghost of the Deep. And I get completely what you're talking about with the traversal portions, but there are ways of getting around that, especially like if you're going fast, your momentum still carries in those areas.
Yeah.
So if you're like amplified and running through like a water section in the final boss area, you're kind of going just from point A to point B, and it's not
really fast.
that bad of a traversal time. And the longer ones, like I can understand that. When it came to, we were doing a last wish, and we did a last wish in like 65, like 65 minutes was the thing. Yes.
Did you do eyes, or did you?
We
go for
didn't
the
do
manicure?
eyes. We didn't do eyes. We're a bunch of adults. We've done it before.
You can
If
see the
we weren't
disappointment.
teaching anybody. We weren't teaching anyone.
Oh no,
okay.
Right, okay then. All right,
It was a bunch of clanmates. Some people hadn't run it in a while, but we've all run it before. So it was like, you know what? I'm gonna break out Heart Shadow. You get your lament. We're just gonna nuke this puppy, and we did it.
Yeah.
And we
fair.
did it. Which
Anyway.
shout out to Heart Shadow for being the new closet tractor cannon. Anyways, continue.
Oh no, you were talking. You said you done a last wish in about 65 minutes. Uh-huh.
And that was brought up. It was like, oh hey, we just did a Ghost of the Deep. Like we could have. It felt much more like it felt like a shorter amount of time, maybe, just because of like how many activities are in Last Wish. There's like 4 or 5 different encounters in there where you're constantly on, whereas with Ghosts, most of that is traversal time, but like comparable to a seasoned group.
This season itself, I'm really, really enjoying. I'm loving the artifact mods for Arc. I've been a massive Arc fangirl since they changed the super, so that the Arc staff has become PvE friendly.
Yeah.
So like, I've loved Arc since then, and having a really solid like Assassin's Cobble build, and then also a Liar's Handshake build.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun to play. Like you genuinely, you're punching like a Titan, but you are as mobile as a hunter. You can dodge, punch, dodge, punch, dodge, punch. I think I've like gained 5 different levels on my Wastelander this season already.
Incredible.
It's just,
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I mean, and that Wastelander was pretty high already. Do you know what I mean? So like, it's getting some good timing.
Hell yeah. I've been enjoying the hunter build as well when it comes to Arc. I was running Assassin's Cowl earlier in the season, and now doing the Liar's Handshake thing, mostly with the javelin throw. But that it feels super powerful and rewarding to play.
Yeah.
With the new artifact season mods, so I get 100% where you're coming from there.
Yeah, because it's all around stasis. Not stasis. I keep calling Strand stasis. It's all around. Good. I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
Me too.
Fabulous. Yes. We should start a committee.
Yeah.
Just call
Stasis
it-
for Strand Club.
Stasis version 2.
Yeah.
Stasis but green.
That one.
Don't lick the green ice. Anyways.
Oh no. The seasonal mods are really, really good, especially because it brought back one that I think was originally for Void with when Shadowkeep came out. Like when Shadowkeep came out, if you were critically injured and you cast your super as a Void, your Void supers would do a lot more damage.
Oh,
I think.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds familiar.
I can't remember if it was actually Void or if it was Arc when Shadowkeep released in that artifact, but I think this is the first time that we've seen that since then. I could be entirely wrong, but I know that if you're critically injured when you cast your super, I think it does more damage. There's something about critically injured and more damage somewhere. But it just makes Arc feel like so much fun, and I know that essentially what Bungie are trying to do is kind of like dictate, kind of like they did before with like the champion mods. They try to dictate the meta somewhat. So obviously they want, like last season it was Solar and Strand. Yes, it was Solar and Strand last season, and now it's Arc and
you had a lot
Strand.
of Void.
That's true. You
stuff
did
in
have a
there
lot
too.
of Void too. Yeah. So it was Void, Solar, and Strand last season, and obviously this season it's more Arc and Strand. I don't know if there's others, but I'm assuming that we're gonna get a mix, maybe Stasis and Strand next season. So yeah, no, but Strand has been an absolute phenomenal addition to the game. this season itself I've actually been enjoying. Yes, we are still stuck in the same seasonal loop. I
Mhm.
have issues with this seasonal loop. I always have done. Just I get it. They have to time gate it to stop people like binging it in like the first 3 days and then
Mhm.
not saying that basically they don't have anything else to do. I know that
Yeah.
basically what they're trying to do is they're trying to keep their numbers up. It's all about data.
Mhm.
But it's like Alana and I jumped on earlier. We did the mission. We listened to Saladin, did the mission,
Mhm.
came back, did a deep well, actually did the mission, did a deep dive, um, came back, fed Sloan some LSD,
Yep.
and then
Psilocybin.
she she just she had her quick trip left, and then we listened to her, and then that was it
Mhm.
for the week. And that has been the same thing that we have done every season that I
Mhm.
can remember, and it's tiring.
Yeah.
I
I
think that go ahead.
yeah, I feel you. I was saying this to Dunes yesterday. Well, we like before we hopped in for stream yesterday. I was like, can we do something else other than the story? Because like I'm kind of itching to not do the story. Like
Mhm,
it's not that it's boring.
mhm.
It's not that it's uninteresting. It's that I would
It can be
much
awfully
rather it be front loaded. I would much rather just run through it and
mhm,
then for the rest of the season work on my checklist of stuff that I want to
mhm,
do.
mhm.
Um, Something that has kind of exacerbated that I didn't even think about in the background of my mind, the experiment that they're doing with power leveling, where they're like, "Hey, you don't need to pinnacle farm this season."
Yes. Yes. Mhm,
Like that instead you just go in at the level you're at and you can play catch up
mhm,
until like the end of end of the season.
mhm.
Um it has it's made last season kind of bleed into this season in a way in my mind that I didn't
Yes.
think about.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. Yes.
And it's like, oh well, I don't need to grind for anything
Mhm,
like other than the loot and like other than loot that I want to go after, like the last
mhm,
wish weapons, other than finishing the story, I'm
mhm,
kind of okay right now. And
mhm.
like outside of helping people, I don't really have a lot that's on my list of to-dos.
Yeah.
Other than maybe fishing for a while. Like I like fishing.
Fishing.
That's pretty cool.
Fishing.
Yeah.
I mean, fishing was a fantastic addition.
Yeah.
Honestly, let's face it. Like, I told Alana that there was fishing, and she was like, "What?" She loves it.
Yeah. Well, and there's other things that I love about like I really enjoy the deep dives. I did my first like
Mm.
tier 7 deep dive last night and
Oh. Mhm.
it's mainly because of the rogue light elements of hey, at once you clear the room, you're able to get like this empowerment. You get to choose between one of these two empowerments. How do you want to play the next room or the next series of rooms?
Mhm. No,
Well,
so I love that. That is
yeah.
really cool. It's really really cool. It's almost like pylons in
Yeah.
uh in Diablo 4
Yeah.
or Diablo 3. Uh, uh, no, I feel like definitely I would agree with you. It definitely feels like it's a bit bleeding in.
Mhm.
I don't think what they it's fantastic that you no longer have to like you don't have to pinnacle grind for this season. But I
Mhm.
think it's kind of it's now put into effect the massive hole in the content that was previously masked by the fact that you had to get on and you had to grind out your
Mm.
levels and stuff. Because essentially, at the end of the day, what do you really have to log in for?
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
10
GMs are
minutes,
coming up
15 minutes,
next week, but
a lot earlier than what they would have normally
yeah.
been. Which I'm excited for. Like I always do GMs, always do GM helps. I always have a lot of fun with GMs. Um, I'm not the best player in the world, but
Right.
um,
Same.
like I'd like being able to say that I help people with GMs. Like I can do that.
Mhm.
Um, it's I just think that it's definitely like shown that it isn't. that people don't enjoy people don't enjoy the pinnacle grind. If you turn around and tell me, actually, there's one person that I know that does enjoy the pinnacle grind, and they're just so gravy. I am Gravy Games.
Yeah.
He's a fantastic streamer, excellent community member, absolutely certifiably insane for liking the pinnacle grind. Just it's baffling. But with the state that the playlists are in, like strikes, I'm sorry, but like if I load into a battleground and I'm just not feeling it, I'm just gonna log back out and go straight into another strike until I get one that I actually enjoy. Battlegrounds being turned into strike, I get that they wanted to consolidate, but it just wasn't something that I personally am a fan of. PvP right now, oh boy.
I haven't stepped foot in. I like the emblem looked cool for Iron Banner last week, but I was like, I'm gonna save myself the hassle. And like I think I'm just gonna chill out a little bit and not try to beat my brains out for it. And it seemed like that was the smart idea.
Yes, it was. The Mars maps come back in, and I played so many matches of Iron Banner. I didn't get that map a single time. I don't know what the weighting system is like, but I didn't get that at all. I got Disjunction 17 million times.
Yeah.
And I hate that map.
And that's
I originally
weird.
I liked it.
Didn't they de-incentivize that one in the queue or?
Well, they say. What Bungie say and what they do are two completely different things. Sometimes, or it could have just been a bug. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's bugs. I'm not a developer. And screw that.
I play game. Number go up.
Yes.
I feel happy.
Yes. Dopamine. Yay.
Yeah.
But so like PvP itself is not in a state where I would call it enjoyable. I'm a very casual PvP player, but I am very competitive. So like when something don't make sense to me, or if I'm like, how? It annoys me. And hey, Gambit that hasn't been touched in I've got something in my eye. And Gambit that's not been touched in what, 3 years? When was
It's
the
been a
last time we
while.
got a new map? When did we get a new
I
map?
think it. Well, the mode got changed with Witch Queen, if I remember correctly.
That's right. That's right.
So it got changed with Witch Queen to be like an amalgamation of Prime and regular Gambit. We haven't seen any new maps.
No. They took away maps.
Yeah, and that was like literally like a year after it came out. There's a reason why. So I did one Gambit panel when we did like the PvE, PvP, PvE, VP panels during the first like season of this show. And it was like, we did the Gambit one, and it was like, because like they deserve to have their voice shown here too. But I mean, I didn't book another one last season because I was like, nothing's really changed. Like it's kind of the same.
Yeah.
And so
that's the problem. Is it? Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I don't dislike the mode. I think it's actually fun, but I've asked this in the past and people have been upset with me. But it was like, do we need it as a core playlist mode? Like,
No.
is it something that should be like maybe a special event every once in a while? That like in the cadence of Iron Banner or something.
I think that would show more interest. People would be more interested in it. Maybe Bungie would actually love it instead of leaving it underneath the stairs, like in a cupboard. It's genuinely, because I think the worst thing that they did with Gambit was try to make it like Gambit Prime, but without the armor. Like the changes that they did in Witch Queen, I think was and just it wasn't it. Like Gambit Prime was my bread and butter. Season of the Drifter, I had a ball. And then obviously you had your normal Gambit and you had your Gambit Prime. You know, you grinded for all of the armor. You went into Gambit Prime and you sweat your arse off. And it was great fun. And then they made the changes to it. They got rid of Prime because they, I don't know, what was the reasoning behind that again? Like it was splitting the player base or people
that's
weren't
usually when they're removing something that's usually what the impetus has been about, because it's like either one playlist goes dry and they need to like infuse more numbers into another one, that they remove it. I mean, Supremacy was gone for a long time, right? Like Supremacy
Yeah.
didn't exist in the game for a long period of
Mm.
time. Now it's back, and it's back in the rotator, but it's like no I think I remember way back in the day they removed it because it was like every other game mode in the like regular playlist. And so it was people got sick of playing that game mode over and over again when they
Yep.
just wanted to shoot mans or grab points.
Yeah.
So like the core playlists, they definitely do need some sort of
Revamp.
some sort of infusion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some probably more than others. I actually I feel like I get to what you're saying about the battlegrounds being added into the Strike playlist. I actually think that they add more variety to the playlist than what we had before. So I'm not I don't dislike that, but I also like am not in the Strike playlist all the time because
I was about to ask you, like, when was when did you last go into Strikes just to go into Strikes?
last
You
week.
know.
Last
Really?
week I went in. I went in because I was like, you know what, I'm gonna because I checking boxes. I'm on the grind for the to get back up to Paragon because checking
yes,
boxes.
Yeah.
And so you had to do like playlist activity to get a pinnacle reward during that. And so I went ahead and did that and got a couple of exotics at the end of that, which I think that's actually like a good
That's a good change.
change.
Yeah, that's a fantastic change.
Yeah, that's a solid change on that front where it's like instead of it just being pinnacle gear, it's an exotic piece of gear. Like that extra little slice of shiny is kind of fun.
Yeah.
But I mean, other than like getting back up to 11 and checking that box, that's pretty much why I jumped into that playlist. I'm excited for GMs next week. Like you, I'm not great at the game. I'm competent at the game, competent enough at the game, and like, you know, I've soloed a dungeon or two on my time, and so like, I'm excited to get into those. I'm excited to help people through those. But yeah, I'm finding myself as like as an atypical player. Sarah loves it when I say that, probably. As an atypical player in the game, I'm finding that my eye is wandering sooner in the season than it has in other seasons, because they took out the loop that they took out, while maybe not the best loop to keep engagement, was actually keeping me engaged for those first few weeks.
I think it's also just to do with the fact that there has been several spectacular games that have been released.
Oh, 2023 is an amazing year for games.
Yeah, it's a fantastic year for games. Basically, I feel like a lot of the loyal player base will be moving to something else just to experience that. Like I know that, Zelda came out, and I don't really have an interest in Zelda games. I've never played a Zelda game in my life. But I know a lot of people have went to play Zelda and stuff like that. And then you've got Diablo, which has been ranked so very highly. I mean, I've just completed Act 1, and I've been playing it, potting about, doing the side quests and stuff like that. But like, I've always loved Diablo. Like, Diablo 3 was an absolutely spectacular game that I love playing. I played it later on, after like the Reaper DLC had been added and stuff. So I played all that, and so like being able to actually have the Necromancer as a main character in Diablo, I'm like, I must play. But I think that we're getting the same thing. We're getting like copied and pasted stuff into Destiny. And we're honestly like that meme of that guy walking hand in hand with his girlfriend, but he's looking over his shoulder at another woman that's walked past. You know that meme? We're absolutely that right now.
I always
And I
thought they
mean-
were siblings. Is that weird? Anyways. Anyways.
that might be.
Okay.
So I think one of the things that I really love about Diablo,
Mhm.
is because we actually we mentioned that this is something we would be talking about, is like the power fantasy.
Yeah.
And Diablo, you can feel powerful, but also still have your your fights. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you can chunk away at something's health, and you're doing huge chunks, but because this thing has a fair amount of health, you do feel powerful, but you don't like breeze through everything every 2 seconds.
Mhm.
That isn't until later on in the game.
Yeah.
With Destiny, the power creep is definitely there. Like, look how
Mhm.
when you compare, like, so for example, Last Wish, when you look back at Last Wish, not even just like Riven or something, but Kali used to give us a lot of used to give like a lot of teams a lot of issues, especially if they didn't sticker, if they didn't like
Mhm.
keep it in place, right? So like Kali used to give folks a lot of issues, like with damage. Morgoth never has. Morgoth has always fallen over like a sack of potatoes.
Yeah.
Just quite easy enough. Shidochi used to be like could be like a hard damage check for some teams, and
Mhm.
now you literally can just breeze through it. Like
Yeah.
I dropped for Shidochi, for example, I dropped my super on her, and then I just ran to where I knew the next ads were going to be, like the javelin. I think the power fantasy for me in Destiny is good. I don't think that we should be. there's always going to be that argument between casual players and hardcore players that want a challenge, right?
Mhm.
However, these hardcore players are not where Bungie gets most of their money.
Right.
It's just it's a statement of fact. Do I believe that every player should get everything? No. There should
Right.
definitely be rewards for those who are the most hardcore. Like, for example, like the day one emblems, or sorry, contest emblems.
Mhm.
Which I agreed with, by the way. The whole 48-hour extension was very, very smart for Bungie,
Yeah.
I think, personally. But like all the locking stuff behind the harder content. So adept weapons for trials, adept weapons for GMs, adept. Well, do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. They give you something to climb for. They give you something to
Mhm.
strive for and to push as a player to get.
Mhm.
If that is the group of pixels that you want, there's a path to it. It's just
Yes.
harder than
harder to
it's
get that.
yeah. And
Mhm.
that's interesting. Like, what's interesting in your comparison, or not comparison, but in talking about Diablo, where you're like, you don't just breeze through everything all the time. Something that a lot of guardians have been bristling about online was the Ghost of the Deep
Boss
health pools.
Yes. Mhm.
And it's like I've had a couple of dungeons in Diablo 4 where I've gone and got absolutely trounced. I'm running Barb, by the way, but I've been
I'm not
absolutely
even. I'm
trounced
not
'cause
even
I'm not
shocked.
built out.
Yeah. Not even
You're not
shocked. No,
You're not
not at all.
shocked?
No.
Is that
If I
is that
had
my
to guess,
personality?
yeah,
Okay.
if I had to guess, I would have absolutely said that you would have played Barbarian. So
She's wonderful. She's wonderful. She's beautiful. She's powerful. She's
Yes.
wonderful.
Yes.
But I get my ass handed to me
Mhm.
because the fights are like, for Barb, you have to be right up in there, and you have
Mhm.
to be
Mhm.
you have to be playing with the mechanic of the fight.
Mhm.
Usually there's some sort of stop mechanic, not unlike Destiny 2.
Destiny.
And like I'm seeing a lot of praise for systems in Diablo like that. But when it comes to like Destiny, when we see like higher health pools for
Mhm.
bosses in Ghost of the Deep, that gets bristled against.
I think. Go ahead.
Oh no, that's
Oh, okay.
that was my point.
Yeah,
Like,
no.
what are your thoughts?
I think it's. Bungie has to counteract the power creep somehow. You know what I mean? Yes, these dungeon bosses have probably more health than the first 3 raid bosses combined.
Yeah.
At the same time, we didn't have the tools that we have now back then. There's going to be power creep, and whatever's they've got 2 choices. They can either build the power pool, build their health pool up, or they nerf our guardians. Now, what are they going to get more? What is the general Destiny 2 community going to get more angry at? The fact that a boss has some health, or that their
nerfing.
their guardians have been
Yeah.
neutered. Yeah. So
Yeah.
there's the thing is that the guardian toolkit is just full of things that you can make some crazy fun builds. You can have some serious synergy with your teammates. It took me, Alana, and Panda went in for day 1 ghosts, and I think it maybe took us, I want to say maybe 4 or 5 damage phases for the first boss.
Yeah.
For getting to understanding the boss's the boss's part and how we do this, how we do that. And it was the same for the it was the same for the end boss. But I've just had a thought that popped into my head really randomly, but I think they should totally do contest mode for dungeons. That would be hilarious.
That'd be rad.
That just popped in and I had to say it. But I think now when I run helps with the dungeon and stuff like that, we will reliably get the first boss down to half health in first damage phase. It doesn't. Yes, it's got a lot of health. Yes, you could probably do with a little bit of min maxing. But dungeons are meant to be end game content. It's not meant to be something that any Tom, Dick, or Harry could walk in. Like they start Destiny 2, a couple hours later, they can just saunter into a dungeon. I think Bungie have always said that raids and dungeons and GMs and stuff like that, they're all end game content. I feel like complaining about a boss, yes, the boss's health is quite extreme. They are definitely bullet sponges. But having thought about it, they need to be. Otherwise, if they follow, imagine we had dungeon bosses like Morgoth. 2 seconds later, it's done. Do you know what I mean? And Bungie, Destiny players will always find the easiest way to do something, right?
Yeah.
So
we're water, path of least resistance. We just we go
just
through.
Want to get it done. So I know people that sat down and then in the master checkpoint for the boss, they cheesed her to get the artifice armor, to get the stick the wither horde on, whatever else, blah blah blah. And I'm not saying that that's if that's how you want to get the gear, if you don't have if you don't want to punish yourself through master content, if that is available to you and you want to do it, do it. I don't think I would have the patience to do it myself personally, because I think it takes 15 to 20 minutes per farm.
Yeah.
But Destiny players will always find the easiest way to do things. So having a boss that has a little bit of a backbone rather than something that just falls over, I think put their nose out of joint. And the question is what do they want Bungie to do? Do you want your guardian neutered? Do you want to get do we want to do Red War all over again, where we lose all of our power, we lose everything that we have in our vault? I see some people calling for a Destiny 3. It's the outbreak that happened when D2 came out, and obviously we didn't have anything.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Why is D3 even being brought to the table? It's very exciting, obviously, that Bungie have just announced Marathon. And I feel also I feel like a lot of the Destiny PvP community feel a bit snubbed, because I think around the rumor mill, I don't know if it's actually true or not, but a lot of the D2, a lot of the Destiny PvP devs actually moved from Destiny to Marathon.
Yeah.
And that's why the D2 PvP seems to be falling down the plug hole a wee bit.
Well, it feels like it's in a state of not triage, maybe triage. I don't know.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
where it's like,
Maintenance.
yeah,
It's maintenance.
like we're keeping things. We're trying to keep things kind of balanced and trying to plug holes where we can, but they're not really doing outside of
Mm.
like Iron Banner modes. They're not really pushing
Mm-mm.
different changes live.
Mm.
And outside of the maps that we're either having reintroduced or added in season over season, we're not really seeing any changes too drastic
Yeah.
for PvP. So this is also something that like has been around for a long time, where people were like, just make Destiny 2 different SKUs, make it PvE on one side and PvP on the other. This is
Mhm.
kind of Bungie doing that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I feel like they need to. They definitely have needed to for a long time, and I don't know. You're always gonna have folks that are gonna complain. It's just a fact of life, right? And
Yeah.
it's just like who are you gonna try and um who are you gonna try to impress or keep more? Those hardcore players that as soon as they beat something they complain that it's too easy,
Mm-hmm.
or the numerous casual players that will come in, they will, do their strikes or
Mhm.
do their story, or do a dungeon or two, maybe if they're feeling a little bit spicy. And then that's kind of it. But they will always spend the money on the DLC. They'll always spend the money on the seasonal part, the things.
Mhm.
They'll possibly buy themselves some silver every season, which I'm considering doing. Like like every season getting that seasonal bundle for silver, and then that's it.
Mhm.
Like hardcore players are definitely. See, the duality of it is that hardcore players will keep this game alive. Sometimes.
Well, you need both.
You need both.
I don't.
Yeah.
I think the ecosystem is such that it's like you need the people who are just coming in to have something to access. You need them to be able to play the game. You need them to be able to take their first steps into the world, try out their first patrol zone, and see how they feel after that. And then once they fall in love with the abilities or the gun game in Destiny, that's when they try doing harder stuff.
Yes.
Or like just kind of throwing themselves into into the deep end. The hardcore players didn't start out hardcore
As hardcore.
players.
Yes, exactly.
Like that was always a growth thing.
But
Getting
I think that,
hardcore players to stay is one thing. And that's one part of I think that's one part of the algorithm that they need to keep Destiny going. But they also need to bring new people in and entice them to become something other than maybe guy who shows up and fishes.
I think that one of the problems that what Bungie has with Destiny currently when it comes to this is the balancing of both, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you need activities that are accessible to anybody and everybody, newcomers to veterans alike. But you also need this kind of, we talked about this before in other podcasts, but aspirational content or harder content to not only appease or, make your hardcore gamers happy, but also for these kind of newcomers to be like, okay, I started this, I enjoy this. This is quote unquote easy for me. And I do say quote unquote, but like this is easier for me to do. Is there something is there a new level for me to go towards too?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that right now Bungie is very much struggling in finding that balance of accessible, quote unquote, easy content and that much harder aspirational content that pleases the majority of the population. Because you'll never, like Adi said, you'll never appease everybody. Like nobody is ever going to be happy with everything. But that for me, and I think for a lot of people that are veterans and have done a lot of the content in the game, that's the hard part where it's like, okay, you're making the game very accessible. That's amazing. But what about the people that have been playing this game for forever? Like, where is that kind of thing that we can bite into and be like happy with? And especially for PvP, I think PvP is even harder hit by that right now for some reason. So I think that's a big struggle on their part.
I think so I don't mean to compare either, because it's apples and hand grenades difference between Destiny 2 and Diablo 4. Like I understand that completely. I think something that Diablo 4 does well is offer the challenge of world tiers, at least in
World
PvE
tiers. Yes, I was gonna say that.
encounters, and
Yep.
like
100%.
and being able to scale those fights and those fights to a person's experience, rather than when I'm walking into a dungeon there, I'm not choosing like, do I want world tier 1 or world tier 3? I'm at the moment right now, I'm in world tier 1 because I'm just trying to breeze through the story so I can get up and I can number go up, I can get better gear, so I can then
Yeah.
hop into then either the next world tier or the world tier past it, because eventually I'll be able to skip.
Yeah.
But it's like baked in at like, okay, this is normal. This is the normal level.
Mhm.
Like, do we see Bungie maybe attempting a change to something like that? Or do we like to a bespoke challenge level?
Probably too hard to do for them.
I was
Yeah.
at this
gonna
point.
say I
It's
don't think they
I don't
have
think
the
it's possible for a Destiny 2 right now.
No. I don't think it's possible in general. The problem that you
Mm.
have is that one of the major pain points for Destiny in general is that they do not have dedicated servers.
Agreed.
So that's I obviously, like I've said before, I'm not a developer and stuff, but like if you've got we already have issues when it's like peer-to-peer connection, and you see it most often in PvP, like when melees aren't registering and stuff like that. But if you're like, I would love if Bungie was to come out and say that they want to try something like world tiers. So like, if you choose like world tier 2, like these enemies are always going to be
Mm-hmm.
they're always going to be swords to you. It doesn't matter what you do. They're always going to be swords. Like kind of like Neo Muna. But then at the same time, it's like, what do they have that would make that enticing? For
Yeah.
Diablo, it's like if you because I'm on world tier 2, and if
Mhm.
you do world tier 2, you get more gold. I think it's like 10% more gold or 20%.
10% more
Depending
gold,
on-
15% more experience.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they've got that enticement, but at the same time, like that's only until endgame. Do you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
haven't completed the story whatsoever. I've only just finished Act 1, so I don't know what kind of endgame content there is. But I've heard that there is a fantastic thing,
Yeah,
like
same.
fantastic stuff to go to. So like the problem is that Bungie doesn't have, like you said, comparing it isn't really like fair and stuff. But like
Yeah.
in when you hold up like end game content, end game stuff, more end game repeatability, like replayability, Diablo's gonna have Destiny by the balls, really. Like when you think about it, I know that a lot of people were really excited that Last Wish was coming. Like the Last Wish weapons were red borders, so you're going to see a lot of people do Last Wish
Mhm.
until they get all their red borders, and then they're
Yeah.
not going to be interested in touching the thing again. But like this is like that's such an example of what Bungie need to do to be able to add the kind of replayability that you want. Like if you want to entice players to go back and play old raids, red borders just went like people went feral for the red borders.
Mhm.
And then you've got things like you know, I think I nearly every time bring this back when we come back whenever I talk about replayability, but Spider Stars, when they
Mhm.
said that anyone who did Spider Stars, they would get the emote that everybody wanted.
Oh yeah.
Everyone went feral over it, and they played it as much as they could until they got that emote, right?
Mhm.
And it's something so simple, like it was a cosmetic. But
So we need the chase. We need something to chase.
Yeah,
The rewards.
Mhm.
we are literally rats going like when we are playing Destiny 2, we're literally rats. We want the treat at the
Yeah.
end. Give us, put us on that automatic feeder.
It's the
Mhm.
reward.
Like, how much
Mhm.
do you reckon that a lot of the content creators? I mean, you've been doing this for a fair amount of time. I've been doing this for a fair amount of time.
Yeah.
A lot of content creators, especially if they've just been playing one game, I think some of it could be attributed to franchise burnout.
Mhm.
Not just general Destiny,
Yeah.
the state of the game right now is what's burnt you out. But the fact that, I mean, for me personally, I've played Destiny basically straight for the past 5 years, and am I eventually is my taste kind of moving on? Am I kind of just tired of that kind of stuff?
Mhm.
And it's
Yeah.
sometimes you do just grow past a game. I,
Yeah.
I'm not currently growing past Destiny. Maybe we're in a little bit of a tough spot. We might need to go to therapy,
Yeah.
work out a little bit of kinks, but we want to just like it's okay to explore these other games that you find really interesting.
Addie, where can people find you on the internet?
People can find me on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok, all under the same name, RoboticAdi.
Thank you so much for being on.
You're welcome.
My name's Danfinity. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and the TikTok at Danfinity, where the eyes are else. You can also find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Danfinity, 3 days a week, helping out Guardians all across PvE activities. If you'd like to support the show, remember to rate and review on your podcast platform of choice. And if you'd like to give a couple bucks to help keep the lights on, head on over to coffee.com/Danfinity. That is ko-fi.com/Danfinity. All the links are in the notes for the show. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you find what you're grinding for.